Well, good morning. We'll call this hearing to order. This markup. I want to welcome everybody. I know we're going to move a little with a little bit of urgency this morning now that votes have been called. But I want to thank my ranking member, Mr. Quigley, for his good work, our time together this year, and we've put together a bill that, Mr. Chairman, I can say has been truly a member-driven process. We had over 2,100 unique requests from members that we sorted through, and had a great team that worked on this. We worked with the authorizers, and I think we've got an amazing product to offer. There's only one thing I really wanted to highlight. There's a lot of great things we can talk about. I would say this is very similar to a bill we passed earlier this year with one really unique and extraordinary difference, and that is we created a fund that we're referring to as the Fund for America's Kids and Grandkids. I joined this committee years ago, Mr. Chairman, not with the intent that we would be a committee that is always spending, but we would also look for areas to save. And this subcommittee has worked tremendously hard to find a way to put aside $585 million that cannot be spent until we reach a position of deficit neutrality. And this is to say we're going to get serious about tackling our fiscal challenges we have right now. And so this number represents just 2.5%. And so this committee has said we can find 2.5 pennies for every dollar we're going to spend and put it aside for America's children and grandchildren. And when we, as a body, Republicans and Democrats, can come together and work to a point of deficit neutrality and move into a new realm of surpluses, then that money shall be released to be spent. This is really a unique opportunity for us as a committee to work together with the authorizers to find these savings, and I want to applaud our committee members who have worked hard to look for areas where we could fund the line items and the agencies much like we did in fiscal 18 that was signed into law by the President that adhered to the budget agreement, and in addition to doing that, still find 2.5% that we could save, $585 million for America's children and grandchildren. And knowing that those around the table here today have children and grandchildren, I know that you're deeply invested in this as well. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Ranking Member Quigley for any opening remarks he may have.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to start by thanking the staff on both sides. We're going to shorten this considerably, but in all even short meetings, we should thank those who worked so hard. I want to thank the staff on both sides for the long hours spent negotiating and drafting this bill, as well as preparing us for this markup. Particularly like to recognize my committed staff director, Lisa, on the minority staff, and Chris, who has done a great job filling in her absence. I know all the members on my side share the same sentiment. Given our short time frame, let me just focus on one particular point. However anyone feels about what's taking place with the Russian investigation, we can all agree, and I think we did in the appropriation process last time, that our election instruments are at risk. And I think after providing the states with $380 million in new grants to help fortify and protect the election systems from cyber hacking, this Bureau zeroes out funding for FY19. While the $380 million that's been allocated is a step in the right direction, it is only a down payment. After Bush, Gore, hanging Chads, we as federal government spent $3.5 billion buying new equipment because we judge our democratic process and how we vote for people to be that important and that sacred. $380 million clearly had the decimal point in the wrong spot, and sadly we're going further in the wrong direction. For most of the 13 states that still use voting machines with no paper trail, the funds they receive are only enough to cover half their replacement costs. We must do more to protect our democratic process from those who wish to do us harm, not just for the upcoming midterms, for 2020 and beyond. Much more to talk about. We'll get that into the full markup. Thank you, sir, and I yield back. I appreciate your efforts to work together.
Thank you, Mr. Quigley, and I'd like to recognize the Chairman of the full committee, thank you for your commitment to America's kids and grandkids as well, Mr.
Well,
Chairman.
thank you. I'm going to keep it very brief. Obviously, I want to thank the staff for all of their good work, and thank Chairman Graves and Mr. Quigley for their close collaboration on this bill. I think it has a lot of merit, and I hope everybody will support it. Now, yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ranking Member Lowy, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Quigley, I'm going to be brief too. Thank you for your work on the bill. The 2019 Financial Services Bill is inadequate at best, negligent at worst. It's really outrageous that it doesn't include a dime for direct assistance to state governments for election security. Yet we approve subcommittee allocations in which the largest non-defense increase will be presumably pave the way to fund President Trump's boondoggle of a border wall. And inadequate funding is only part of the story. Poison pill riders, continued the assault on consumers, women's reproductive health care, and the District of Columbia. There are some bright spots: small business loans, combating the opioid crisis, directing the Postal Service to improve delivery. Democrats will engage in an appropriations process that invests wisely in essential programs, not an ideologically driven process that only serves to highlight our divisions. Sadly, this bill fails that test. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you. Always
Chairman,
good to see
we
you.
recognize our colleague here as well from the District of Columbia. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for joining us today. Any other members have any comments? Mr. Young.
Just this is a great bill. It passes the test, especially when it comes to our future of our kids and grandkids. And thank you for putting the guardrails around that. So it's not a slush fund, so it's transparent, and so it's difficult to get to unless we do our job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Any other members? Seeing no other members, Vice Chair Herrera Butler has a motion.
Hearing none. Oh, excuse me. I move that the bill be favorably reported to the full committee.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes clearly have it. The bill shall move forward to the full committee. I want to thank everybody for your great work, and Mr. Chairman, look forward to seeing you in a few weeks.
Good job.
Meeting adjourned.